and welcome back to my channel. My name is Helen if you don't already know me, and today we are going to cover glute activation, how to feel your glutes and how to get a really good mind muscle connection. First of all, the reason that we are doing this is because I've been sat on my glutes for a very long time. They haven't worked and they need waking up. Glute activation is really good for injury prevention. It can really help stabilize the knees and support the lower back, and also when you're doing exercises like deadlifts, squats and lunges, it can make sure that they are firing and being used. So if you're looking for strength or hypertrophy or postural, glute activation is useful for you. When you are doing glute activation, you can do just body weight, and the mind muscle work we do will be just body weight. But today I'm going to use like short resistance bands. These are the material ones. These are all from, well, these are GracefitUK and these are BND, but they're the same company. Today I'm actually going to use the lightest one. So when you're looking to do activation, you're not looking to tire the muscle out or to become overly fatigued. Obviously the aim is to use it for the rest of your workout. So I'm going to go very light today, especially because I've not done it in a while. Doesn't mean you can't go heavy on your activation, but just be aware that you're not looking to exhaust. So the placement of the band is important as well. So I popped this just above my knees. Here, this length of the lever is, in theory, the longest. So I'm not going to put it directly on the kneecap. It won't be particularly comfortable, and if it is heavy, it can cause more harm than good. So we're going for just above the kneecap, above the joint. And as you can see then, if I was to move, this whole part is getting the resistance there. Whereas I see some people using their bands like right under their bum, and at that same range of movement in my hip, the band is almost only like half that length. So I'm not going to get as much resistance from the band. So if you want to actually get the most out of it, you want to get it longer. I hope that makes sense. It's all about lever length essentially, and where that force is applied. The first exercise is really simple, and it's going to work on both hip abduction and hip extension. Abduction is your leg moving away from the midline. So this is the midline, this is it moving away, that is abduction. Hip extension is going from a flexed position to an extended position. So I am actually going to start this exercise in this flexed position so that when I go back, that hip can extend. So this is what I'm going to call the dance mat exercise. It is a side tap, but just for sort of an easy way to remember it. You're going to start just by bending your knees, trying not to overextend the lower back, so having a little bit of core control, and you're going to do 8 taps to the right, to the left and to the back on each side. I'm trying to keep my knee forwards. It's not super heavy, I can feel it, I don't feel exhausted, but I'm definitely turning my glute on. One thing to notice is that this knee may want to collapse in. You're going to try and keep this hip and this knee super duper still. Once you've done 8 each side, you can then do 4. This is very good going in time with your music of choice. And if you want, you can go hands on your bum. I've always done that for some reason. From there you're going to do 2 on each side. Again, knees facing forwards for those. And then we'll just do 1 of each. And that hurts, to be honest. That is, my glutes are on for sure. So we've just done abduction and also hip extension. Your glutes also do external rotation from the hip. They also do internal rotation, but we're going to focus on external rotation. So that is your knee opening, or from the hip going like so. So as a little variation of that dance mat, you're going to hold this foot out and then open the knee and close. That opening is coming from this hip. And I'm trying to keep this one super still. That's 8 on each side. I really love 8, 4, 2, 1, so I'm just gonna carry on doing those. Again, hip still. I'm trying to hold in my transverse abdominis, my deep core muscle. I think that's 4. Hip still, core on. An alternative or an addition, depending on how much time you like to spend on your activation. You can take a seat. I like to also lean backwards, again, core on, hips in neutral, chest up, plant your feet and simply push into the band like so. The seated abduction machine is a good variation of this. So I think a lot of people get confused between abduction and external rotation, because a lot of the time you are doing both. But that seated abduction machine in the gym, if you picture what your hip is doing, you are going from a front to an out position rather than from like a full. Well, actually some of them are quite flat, but depending on where you're leaning, you're going to get if I was to lie on the floor, or this would be like standing, or like the ones that are quite lying down, you're getting a lot more abduction. Whereas if you've got more of a 90-degree angle, then you've got more external rotation. Either way, the more angles and the more variety that you can bring into your movements, the better. So you're making sure your glutes are working in every direction. Next up, we're going to do squats, and we're going to work on keeping the knees out, pushing against a band, so that knee isn't necessarily externally rotating, it's not abducting, it's going to stay in the same place. So you can almost imagine like an isometric hold in that sense, but instead we're going to obviously bend at the hips, knees and ankles to go down into a squat. So it's really important that you can activate your glutes. Know what it feels like when people say push into your heels and squeeze your bum. To activate for that, that is a lot of mind muscle work. So a really simple thing I like to do, we're going to start simply standing. You want to pop your hips under your ribs, so not too far forwards, just right underneath, and squeeze your bum. Really simple, it's quite easy to push into your heels and squeeze your bum in this position. Then you're going to go into a half Romanian deadlift. So about there, flat back. See if you can still push into your heels and actually squeeze your bum, like just squeeze the butt cheeks together. And check they can bring them up. And go into a full, squeeze your bum, and come up. This is so quick. We can do the same with a squat. So instead of knees almost straight, you're going to push your hips back and bend your knees instead. Push into your heels. Can you squeeze your bum in that position and come up? If it's difficult, start with small increments. So squeeze at the top. Teeny squat. Can I squeeze? Yep. 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 A really quick important thing to note about squats, if you're trying to be quad focused, when you squat, focus on pushing your knees forward, so lots of bend through the knees, working the quads. And if you want to work your glutes more, push backwards more. That's going to help get your glutes. And you have to think about pushing into your heels and squeezing your bum. So really simple, you're going to pop the band on your knees. You are going to plant your feet, and then you're going to think about which way your knees are facing. They're going to face the same way the entire time. So this rotation is currently coming from the hips. You're going to externally rotate. My knees are facing the same way as my middle toe. I'm going to squeeze my glutes and my core right now, and I'm going to push my hips back like I'm squatting. I'm not going to let my knees fall in. At the bottom, I'm going to push into my heels, squeeze my bum. I always do that with clients, like, go on, squeeze it up. Really strange, but that vision just kind of works for some reason. So obviously I'm not static, but the external rotation of my hips is staying the same. So my thigh in my hip socket, staying at the same rotation, the same angle. So this, I can feel my glutes on to maintain this. This is one that you definitely can do with a heavier band straight away, if appropriate, just because your body weight helps with this one. So that's a really, really quick set of activation exercises. You can do it before your next lower body workout, before your next Pilates workout, before your next yoga session. And actually there's one more thing I want to add. If you're doing a single leg exercise, like a lunge or a split squat or a warrior in yoga, you want your weight normally in that front foot to activate your glutes, pressing through the whole of your foot. They always say that in yoga. But if you think about pushing into your heels and squeezing your bum, then your bum will be taking some of the work and you'll be activating it. Similarly to the way that we did the Romanian deadlift squeeze, you can take one foot back, push your hips back, think about squeezing just that one. Push into the heel and squeeze. Similar, if you're in a lunge, think about pushing that front heel and squeezing that glute. So that's how it can help with split squats and single leg exercises like that. I think that's everything. I hope I didn't ramble too much or talk too fast. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments down below, and if you'd like to see any more educational videos like this, leave me a comment with what you would like to see coming up next. I will see you in the next video, and until then, stay happy and healthy. Bye!